This is a vision I received August 4th, 2020. I originally did not think it was a vision because we had just gotten some chicks, and it started out with one of the chickens, and so forgive me, I didn't think it was a vision, but it wasn't anything that I had seen, so I decided to see if it was the Lord, and the vision continued. So the vision starts out with a baby chick, and the chicken is in that stage of sort of where they're really cute and fuzzy, and then they turn kind of ugly, like a teenager stage, maybe like its fur coming off, its feathers coming off, and things like that. So it's not the best looking thing in the world. So it was in this stage, and this particular chicken I saw is a type of chicken that doesn't grow feathers on its neck, so it's a little strange looking anyway. And this particular chicken is sort of just doing chicken things, looking around in its little chicken, way that it moves and things like that. And then at one point the chicken moves onto a bar, like it's like maybe a piece of wood that it can perch up on. And when it's on that perch, you can see a hand. It's a man's hand, and he comes and he sort of has this little I want to say cylinder type thing that he pours milk into the chicken's mouth. And then the chicken, after this stage, after it's given the milk by the man's hand, takes off into flight from that perch. And as he's flying, his wings are stretching out, and he's growing, and he's becoming a full feathered chicken. And he's obviously no longer a chicken because chickens are flightless birds. So he becomes sort of like a flying bird, and the bird is basically all black with a little bit of brown on its wings, expanded out. I can see as he's flying a very, very close-up picture of its beak, and it turns from a bird's beak, and it sort of starts to sort of unwrap into another bird. So the bird starts to unwrap, and everything changes off of the bird. Simultaneously, I can see the direction that the bird is flying. And as I see where he's flying, he's in the sky, and he is high above. In fact, as I'm looking down from that position, he's flying over an ocean with like a navy blue, deep blue sea. It's very beautiful, but it was very scary. Like even I was sort of like, oh, this is really high. Anyway, and then straight ahead were these clouds, and they were almost like bubbles. They were bubbling forth, and the clouds were bright white, and they were huge. And bright light was coming sort of from behind them. I don't know if it was like just a light, or if it was lightning, or if it was, fire. I don't know, but it was bright. And it was sort of like bubbling out of the middle outwards, getting bigger and bigger, and it was just this beautiful thing. Like you could tell something amazing was going to come out of this cloud. So the bird heads towards this cloud and begins to sort of peel back from the beak all the way back to the back feathers, the tail feathers, and it becomes this eagle. And it's in full flight. Now it's an eagle, and you can see on either side of it that it's sort of lined with eagles. There's a good portion of eagles on either side of this eagle that I can see. And this particular eagle has, I think, a scroll in his little clutches. I want to say there is other things in the other eagle's talons. But I think I see a fish, but I can't really see anything else at this point. At this point, the vision shifts a little bit into a couple different things. The very first thing that I see is I see soon on a mountain cliff. I've seen soon here many times in visions. I believe it is Mount Sinai, and he's in like a cove, sort of like cut out of this mountain with a fire burning. And in his hands, he has ashes, and he's blowing the ashes into the fire, and the fire is beginning to smoke. It's beginning to smoke up into the air, and you could see that the smoke is on the back side of this huge cloud that was in the sky. And it's sort of like almost like a holy smoke, I guess you could say, because it's that really gray, dark, it reminds me of in the Bible when they talk about like the thunder of the Lord and all that. Anyway, so that's what's happening on the back side of this cloud. Then there was a little side note that I saw. It was an eagle, and he was sitting sort of perched on the ground, and up in the night sky, I saw the night sky full of stars, and the eagle was sort of taking his beak and almost connecting the dots into constellations. And strangely enough, he made a shape with his beak, and it was like, I guess, a dolphin, because once all the stars were connected in that shape, that physical animal appeared and came out of the sky into this physical dolphin. So that was a little thing that happened out of nowhere in the middle of this vision. So then it goes back up into the sky, and I start to look and see what I can see coming out of the clouds. And initially, I see this throne come forward, and the throne is almost, I guess it reminds me a little bit of a carnival ride where when someone gets in the ride, it moves forward and lets somebody else on, and then it moves forward and let somebody else on, sort of. It was sort of these thrones that were rotating, and each throne had something on it. I think the very first throne that I saw on it was books, a stack of like old-fashioned books. Then it rotated, and there was a ship at sea, old-fashioned as well, sort of like the beginning of time, not time, the beginning of like Finding Land, like with Christopher Columbus type ships. Then it rotated again. I think there might have been an empty one, maybe. And then there was also a hammer. Let's see, those three things. And a crown. So there was those things on the chairs. And then what I noticed was that once I'm not sure when this took place in the vision. This is a little difficult to see, but after I saw those pieces initially, seeing that the piece propped up in the back made it sort of like prop up what those represented, I believe. And with the books, the first thing that kind of propped up was like the knowledge of man, like human wisdom or human knowledge or something like that. And then when the ship came up, it was like man's pride in finding and like finding land and ownership of it, like taking ownership of it with pride, type of like, this is mine type of stuff. And then with the crown, it was obviously just the pride, I guess, of mankind and their kingship, or whatever it is, the greed or whatever in kingship. And then the hammer, what propped up was buildings, like even the pride of that, like that this is man-made. These are man-made things over the years that we made with our hands. Sort of like a lot of prideful type stuff. And anyway, these thrones were pretty big in my opinion. I thought they were pretty big size. But then behind them came this throne that was just enormous, like 5, 6, 10 times the size of these thrones. And it pushes its way forward sort of from the back of the clouds, and it sort of crushes these little thrones that now seem little, that seemed big in the beginning. And it comes forward, and the Father is sitting on this throne. I believe it's the Father. Maybe it's Jesus. I don't know. Anyway, he steps forward, and he sort of has like this scepter thing. It's long, and maybe, I mean, obviously it's bigger, but to his size compared, it might have been like 2 inches thick, and maybe something on the top of it. Maybe that's why I think it's like a long scepter. Anyway, he stands up and he snaps it in half, and he throws it to the earth. And then out of his side, I want to say it's his left side, he pulls a sword out, and he takes the sword to the earth, and he runs the sword down the middle of the earth, like splitting it in half. And I'm not sure which order this goes in, but originally I thought to myself, oh, he's going to separate out the people, and it's sort of what he did, but it was different than I expected. So on one side, the left side, as I'm looking at it, it split, and the sword had just kind of dug in, almost like in dirt, where you dig in a dirt with a sword. And on the left side, this from his throne comes down over the top of it, almost like a storm brewing, how it goes in a circle sort of over the ocean, you know. It looked almost like, I mean, spirits, or it looked like angels or something came out from there, and it came and it went around like a storm over the top of these people. And I'm not sure if they were destroyed from the storm or what took place there, but that was on one side. Now the other side was a people who were given a pathway to go into where the Lord had cut the ground, because it wasn't a separation as much as it was like when Moses split the Red Sea. It was a path like that. It was exactly like that, actually. And the people had a pathway from their side to be able to go into this path walkway through the split ground, which represented the Red Sea, go through it. And they were able to walk through it. Now, as they walk through it, something happened. And I don't know where this came from. I can't remember where this came from. I'm sorry. But a tunnel, like a tornado type things came and was at the very end of this Red Sea type splitting. And the Lord came and he opened the middle of it for them to walk through. So it was a very windy, dark, scary place, it seemed like, but the Lord made a way through it. And then once you get through the other side, you could see that this was like full on, Mount Sinai, the Red Sea, but right on top of Mount Sinai, almost like it was just placed right over the top of it, I believe was Jerusalem or the New Kingdom or some sort of kingdom, and laid with gold and type of stuff, and stairs on the way up right over the top of this mountain, of this Mount Sinai. And once the people went through that tunnel, funnel, tornado thing, they walked up the steps into this kingdom. And that was the end of the vision. I did forget one part. I don't know exactly when this happened, but I remember asking the Lord what ends up happening with these eagles. And I think before, I remember now. Okay, sorry. Before the Lord, no, that wasn't before he sliced it. So when the Lord is standing, and I believe he has done the separating of the two, the birds, the eagles, they fly into where the Lord is, sort of behind him, and they grow in size. They grow in the size of the Lord, and then they turn into men, and they're all clothed in white, and they're wearing priests' outfits. I believe they're priests' outfits. I don't think I see the stones, the stone part. It's just, they've got this, it reminds me sort of like of a Catholic, maybe with the beads around the waist or something like that. Just something to show me that they were priests. Anyway, and at one point, a priest on one side, there's a priest on one side and one on the other. And one of the priests has this rope in his hands, and it's connected to the earth. And I'm not sure if there's a tug-of-war situation or just a holding on tightly, but then he lets go of it and the rope disintegrates in his hand. And then the other priest had something I almost forgot. And then the other priest had sheets of paper in his hand, and he threw the sheets of paper out towards the earth, and they all kind of just fluttered down into the ground. And so that was the end of the vision for reals this time.